Speak to Julia Manchester, national political reporter at The Hill. Julia, welcome here to the programme. In terms of people around the world watching, this bill, explain to them why it is so critical for Donald Trump, this spending bill.
Well, it's critical because this is Donald Trump's legislative agenda. So if you've watched the past 100 to 200 days of his second administration, you have seen President Trump sign a number of executive orders and executive actions, really trying to implement his agenda overall in the U.S. when it comes to a number of areas like the border, for example. However, he can't do all of this through executive orders and executive actions. We know that Congress controls the power of the purse to allocate funding. He needs Congress. And luckily for President Trump, Republicans control both the House and the Senate. So at the surface level, you would think, great, President Trump would easily be able to pass his legislative agenda through Congress, extend those 2017 Trump tax cuts, for example, allocate more money to the border. However, what we're seeing is there are divisions within the House Republicans and Senate Republicans about how big this bill should be or how small this bill should be. A number of Republicans have faced concerns over potential cuts to Medicaid, for example, a very crucial government program that a lot of Americans depend on. However, on the other side of this, you have a number of fiscal conservative hawks, including President Trump's now former advisor, Elon Musk, who is speaking out against this bill and really creating a lot of turmoil among Republicans on Capitol Hill when they're already deeply divided on this legislation.
You mentioned Elon Musk, and we're showing pictures of the two of them in the Oval Office. He has increasingly been posting on social media what he thinks about this spending bill. And in terms of the antagonism, it is growing. And his central theme and thrust is the size of the potential growth in national debt, and pointing out today the amount of interest the administration is already paying on the national debt, and that's set to increase even further if this goes through.
That's correct. And, these comments really pose a risk, I think, to the future of this legislation, because what Elon Musk is doing by raising these concerns about the national debt is sort of validating a number of remarks and concerns we've heard from fiscal hawks in the House and the Senate, including Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, who has really gone head to head with the administration on this legislation. It's also deeply ironic that Elon Musk is doing this days after leaving the White House, because we know that President Trump literally traveled to Capitol Hill last month to meet with House Republicans to essentially whip them into formation to vote for this legislation, regardless of what their concerns are. So Elon Musk, in making these comments, is risking or, could very well be deepening these divisions among Republicans when it comes to the size and scope of this legislation.
As you're talking, we're just showing the latest Elon Musk tweet, the camera just panning out so we get it in stages. But let me ask you, because you talked there about Donald Trump only a short while ago, strong-arming, getting it through the House. But there is growing opposition in the Senate. You mentioned Rand Paul. How many more senators are coming on board and are being public about their opposition?
Well, there's opposition on a number of fronts in the Senate. You have Rand Paul, Florida Senator Rick Scott, for example, some of these fiscal conservatives who think the bill doesn't cut enough, that it's too big, that it needs to be slimmed down. Rand Paul, really the face of that opposition. But then on the other hand, you have a number of Republicans who think it cuts too much from programs like Medicaid, for example, or food assistance programs. Remember, in just over a year, a number of these Senate Republicans and all House Republicans will be facing re-election, and Democrats have already begun to roll out attacks saying that this bill would cut these government assistance programs. So Republicans, more moderate Republicans facing re-election, also find themselves on the defense on this bill for a completely other reason, or in opposition, I should say, for a completely other reason than Rand Paul might, for example. Ironically, You also have Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, a major conservative, who's speaking out against this bill. Remember, a number of these deeply Republican states, a number of those constituents also depend on these government assistance programs.
Final quick thought, because today we've seen those steel and aluminium tariffs double to 50%. Today is also the day where countries' best offer was supposed to be lodged at the White House around the tariffs he introduced around the world. So are we on the brink of the pause being unpaused?
Well, we'll have to see. Look, I think the administration is certainly looking to use these steel and aluminum tariffs as leverage with the negotiations on tariffs. We know that a lot of the steel, aluminum manufacturing industry here in the United States is very happy about these tariffs, but the administration is also facing pressure from other industries and other American, I guess, interest groups, et cetera, over these tariffs. So we could potentially see an unpause at some point, but the pressure is really on.